Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Live Coding with me, Matt Groves. This is episode 17, in which we're going to be following up on the Hangfire stuff we did last time. That took way more time than I expected, so got a few things I want to follow up with. And hopefully we're going to get to some EFCore planning today, and we'll talk about why I'm interested in planning. I'm not going to plan every single detail here, but it's good to have some plan in place and to some sort of documentation or guide for people who want to help contribute, of which I've gotten several people who said they wanted to contribute, so I'm going to try to do my best to help them out. So that's what's on the docket today. So let's go through our normal stuff. If you're joining us for the first time, I say this every episode, the only stupid question is the one you don't ask. So no matter how crazy it looks on the screen, if there's something you want to know more about, ask. And I'm not going to talk down to you or make fun of you or anything like that. I'm going to answer the question the best that I can. And sometimes a question that you may think is stupid may actually be a really smart question, something that I've never thought of before. So the only stupid question is the one you don't ask. Just remember that. All right. I just got back from QCon New York. So I didn't do a stream Tuesday. I was at QCon in New York. So I'll just bring up a little tweet of that. I was there. This time I was just staffing the Couchbase booth. Couchbase has been a sponsor of QCon for years now. And so I got to run the booth, which means I get to talk to people a lot like happens on Twitch here, except I don't quite do as much coding. It's not much of a screen-oriented, it's more face-to-face conversations. But I get to talk to a lot of developers and architects and great people in technology. And I also get to give away stuff. So I get to give away Couchbase swag, of course, t-shirts and stickers and water bottles and all that kind of stuff. We also give away prizes. And prizes vary over event to event, but this one we had 3 of the C64 Mini. That's a Commodore 64 Mini to give away. So here's the first one, and here's the second one. I gave out the next day. It's pretty cool. It comes with 64 games. So if you've ever seen the NES Mini or the SNES Mini, or even like the Atari Flashback or the Sega Genesis, which aren't quite as good, but it's along the same sorts of line. It's a smaller version of a C64 that's meant to plug into HDMI modern television, and I'm guessing it's essentially an emulator in there that plays the old games, and it even comes with BASIC, which is pretty cool. So you can actually write some code on a simulated C64 on a modern TV. So I got to give some of those away. That was very nice. Yes. So speaking of events, I wanted to again list my upcoming events just in case anyone is interested in what I'm up to, or you want to come talk to me, or maybe you'll be at one of these events. Let me know in the chat room that you're going to be here so I can look for you at the event. But I'll be at Detroit Tech Watch. So I'll be driving up there tomorrow and presenting on Saturday. This is the first Detroit Tech Watch as far as I know. It's certainly my first Detroit Tech Watch. And I will be presenting on SQL++, something I've talked about on this channel before. So that'll be pretty cool. Then I'll be at the Xamarin Conference in Houston. Xamarin Summit, I think, or Xamarin Developer Summit. That's in Houston, in the Woodlands, actually, the north side of Houston. So I'll not be speaking there. I'm not much of a mobile developer, but Robert Hedgepeth will be there also. And he actually used to work for Xamarin, so he works with Couchbase now. So I think he has a presentation there, and so we'll be hanging out at the Couchbase booth at that event because Couchbase is also sponsoring. KCDC coming up soon. It's July 17th, which is less than a month away. A lot less than a month away. This is a great community event, one of the biggest community-run events in the country. Kansas City. I want to say 2,000 people. I may be high. I don't know. But it's a huge event. Couchbase is once again sponsoring. We've been sponsoring the last couple of years. This year's no exception. I'll also be a speaker there talking about Hangfire, which is the thing that I worked on the last stream, and we'll be doing a little bit of today. But I'll be talking more about Hangfire from a general point of view and not, making pull requests to a specific Hangfire extension project. So that'll be presenting on Hangfire there. And also be at a Couchbase booth, hanging out the whole time, giving away stuff. So if you're going to be at Kansas City, KCDC, come by, say hi. Then after that, shortly after that, I'll be going to Cincy Deliver, which is what used to be called Day of Agile, Cincinnati Day of Agile, and Cincy Develop. They combined it into one umbrella there. It's Cincy Deliver. This is the event that's created and run by Phil Pixie, among others. And I will be also speaking there. I think I'll be speaking there, yes. And also Couchbase will be sponsoring there. So this is the first time Couchbase will be sponsoring this tremendous event. So come to Cincinnati. Get yourself a ticket. They are really inexpensive and a great value for what you get in terms of content. And a really interesting facility there in just outside Cincinnati in Mason, Ohio. So come check out Cincy Deliver. Next up is in August, JavaScript and Friends. This is also a brand new conference here in Columbus, put on by a couple of my pals and some others. I'm not exactly sure who all's involved, but it is a one or 2 day actually. I think a 1 day conference with a 1 day of workshops oriented around JavaScript, so JavaScript frameworks, stuff like that. I will be speaking at this event on querying JSON. So it's not running JavaScript applications per se or writing JavaScript code, but JSON is from the JavaScript world, so it is definitely a friend of JavaScript. So I will be talking about that. That's August 2nd coming up. I'm sure tickets are on sale, or if not, there will be soon, so definitely pick up one for that, especially if you're in the Columbus, Ohio area. There's no reason not to. Then after that, Codepalooza. I will be in Louisville, Kentucky. Codepalooza, a tremendous community event, another nice one of my favorites. Been around for a while. It's in Louisville. They are moving back to downtown Louisville, I believe, at the Hyatt this year, which is nice. And that's a 3-day event, I believe, with also workshops. And I will be speaking there. And a great event to check out. Go check out Codepalooza. Lots of other great speakers, lots of great content. So check out Codepalooza. That's coming up August 21st. I think you can get tickets now, so get on it. Dog Food Con. After that, in October, this is another Columbus, Ohio event. It's been around for a few years at least, and it's, I believe, a 2-day event now. And this is originally a Microsoft-oriented event, but I think it's expanded beyond that. So definitely check that one out, Dog Food Con. I've never been before. Timing has never worked out for me for one reason or another. Either I'm some other conference or I couldn't get the day off or something like that. So I'm really excited to go to Dog Food Con for the first time. And I will be also speaking at Dog Food Con, which is cool. So that'll be nice. And after that, All Things Open, which is a huge open source oriented conference out in Raleigh in the Research Triangle area. I will again be speaking at this conference, and Couchbase will be sponsoring this conference. This is the 3rd year in a row for All Things Open for me and Couchbase. Really great, big conference with a small conference feel. That's how I described it in the past. Definitely worth checking out. I think there are direct flights from Columbus if you're in the area, or Raleigh is a big hub, so should be easy to get there. Relatively low price conference, especially if you get in early, and really just top quality content there. A lot of Red Hat is in the area. It's right across from Red Hat headquarters, so if you're into that kind of stuff, check it out. And I'll be speaking there too. So you can check that out. And the last one, which is on my list, I'm not sure about yet, but if you're into Kubernetes, you're into cloud stuff, I may be going out to KubeCon. I think Couchbase will be there, but KubeCon in North America, that's in San Diego this year. I've never been to San Diego, so we'll see how that goes. I may be going to that, I may not be going to that, but keep that in mind. I went to KubeCon in Barcelona. It was an interesting conference. I've never been to Barcelona before, never been to Europe, so interesting from that point of view. But KubeCon is a whole different audience than what I'm used to interacting with, so it's a very interesting experience for me. So that is my calendar so far, and that is, of course, likely to change. More stuff be added to it. I want to give a shout out to my live coding team on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/team/livecoders, and we are a team on Twitch. We stream, like it says in the name, we stream coding. We do live coding. And we do all kinds of tech and building stuff. So you can see here, Lana Lux is currently streaming. I peeked into her stream a little bit earlier today, and she was 3D modeling some toast or a toaster or something. I wasn't really sure what was going on, but something toast related was happening there. So it looks like it's some sort of game development. I'm no expert on game development. That looks kind of like it's Unity or some sort of 3D modeling. I don't know. Pretty cool stuff. InstaFluff always seems to be streaming on there. But here's the rest of the team. Not streaming right now, except for yours truly. If I refresh, I bet I'll show up there with a red dot next to my name. Oh, a lot more. Yeah, we got Lies Live and Tyler Leonhardt streaming right now. We may raid one of these channels later, but lots of great people on there, all live coding in different time zones, different technologies. So definitely check that out. We don't need to watch that commercial though, so let's close that one down. I also want to shout out to the awesome developer streaming list. This is basically a text file on GitHub where people submit their streaming channels, and it's not just Twitch, and it's not a specific team. So people are streaming all kinds of different stuff. So Mixer, YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, Twitch, of course, are all on here. And you can just do Control F to find different topics that people are streaming about. So if you're interested in Rust, Control F for Rust, and you can see there's Armin Ronisher who's streaming Rust, and Captain Craft who's streaming Rust, and etc. And this is added recently. They alphabetized it under these headings. I'm not sure that really does much, but breaks it up a little bit more visually, I guess. And you can see yours truly down here. I stream mostly about databases, of course, because I work for Couchbase. But SQL, NoSQL, SQL++, and I do a lot of backend stuff, .NET, C#, as you saw last time with Hangfire. Occasionally, I'll do some other off-the-wall stuff like soldering, VR, podcasting. I did a recent stream with my kids where I played Fortnite badly while they all yelled at me and laughed at me and how bad I was. And that was so much fun. I may do that again. But mostly I stick to databases and tech and coding and things like that. All right, what else we got? Oh, yes. Groves Tube, you see there at the bottom of the screen over here, right down there. All the videos that I stream, they get saved to Twitch for some period of time, but I also export them to YouTube, so they're going to be there for the long term for you to check out if you want to. I will occasionally make highlight clips and put those out there on YouTube as well. So if you don't have the patience to watch an hour and a half, I'll get like a 5 to 10 minute clip of something really good and make that out there available as well. So check that out. bit.ly/GrovesTube. TwitchBot is running right now. Matt's TwitchBot, which is possibly the most sophisticated TwitchBot in the entire world. Not. All it does is any message you put in the chat is going to save it to a Couchbase database local to my machine, which that's it at this point. That's all it does. I can take that data. It's just all the Twitch data that's being saved, that I'm grabbing from the Twitch client, and we can then query it for all kinds of different stuff like who has the most chat messages, so I could execute this query. And see, that is Calvin, 174 chat messages, and then Coral, and then Surly Dev still in third place, and so on down the list there. Don't know what else I can do with this data just yet. I'm in data collection phase. Right now we've got 482 chat messages to date. So leave your chat message for posterity. It will be saved to the database, and who knows what we'll do with it later. What else we got? All right, so let's get down to business, as they say. So last stream, did a little work with Hangfire because I ran across kind of a minor issue, I guess, but still an issue, where if I was setting up Hangfire, which is a background task processing tool. Let me take a swig here. Lost my voice a little bit, QCon this week, talking so much and yelling out raffle ticket numbers, but I'm recovered for now. But the idea was, when you first set up Hangfire, Hangfire has to, and specifically the Hangfire Couchbase extension, this is probably true for other ones as well, but I was working on the Hangfire Couchbase extension. It has to create some indexes because the Hangfire extension uses some queries, and so we need to have indexes in place before we can run those queries. The problem was, and I discovered this kind of by accident, is that I created a user in Couchbase for Hangfire to give access to the database, and I didn't give that user enough permission, so it couldn't create indexes. So what was happening was the indexes were not being created, but they were just sort of failing silently. And then the next error that you'd see as a developer is that unable to execute this query because there are no indexes. And so I'd rather it fail faster. So we did some efforts to try to figure out how best to do that, how best to check those queries, that they were run, and those indexes, they're executed properly. and then to throw an exception if, for instance, they couldn't be created for whatever reason, most likely permission issue, but could be other reasons. Now, since then, in that Twitch stream, we submitted a pull request, and there's been some discussion between me and the creator of this, the original creator of this open source project, Imran. And so I wanted to take a look and review some of the comments here. I submitted a pull request, and that pull request we kind of discussed was not really kind of what he was looking for, which is totally fine. And I think it's this one right here. Also, my pull request is a little bit of a mess too. I had a bunch of these merges happening. But anyway, so this is some of the discussion. I thought I'd go over this here on the stream because it's very interesting. This is exactly what's so great about open source development, is all this stuff's out in the open for other people to benefit from, and for me to benefit from, to go back and look and see, oh yeah, that's why we did this. The code that I submitted, he took a look at it and said that, you know, we don't really need this method because we're returning success and exception. And as we covered in the stream, it didn't really work how Imran or myself expected it to work. And so that's what I said here. It doesn't actually return an exception. And if the index already exists, then success will also return false. So that'll be kind of a false negative. And so he thinks, yeah, that's funny. So what his idea was, let's instead move the check inside that and throw an exception if any of them do not exist, and we're going to have to create our own exception, which I briefly mentioned in the stream. Like, I'd really prefer we had a more specific exception than what I was throwing, which was just an exception, the base type of exception, which not great. He did some checking there, and I linked him to the video on YouTube, as I said. He said thanks for the video, which was helpful to him apparently. He showed that it's technically not an exception. Yes, we knew this stuff already. And yeah, he also asked me to reset my branch because I screwed things up there. So he did all this stuff while I was busy traveling, I believe is when this was happening. I was at an airport or in the process of traveling. So he kind of ran out of patience, I think. Or maybe he just wanted to get this knocked out himself. But he created a pull request, 37, which he wanted me to review. I didn't really get around to reading that in time, so he closed it after doing a push. But that's fine. We can still check out it out and see what he did. So he did. Looks like there's like 3 commits maybe. So I think I did take a look at this. Yeah. So this is actually really smart what he did here, because I kind of struggled with. I don't want to have to, have these strings listed twice, because then I have to update it here and update it down there at the bottom. So what he did was actually really smart. He used a new feature of C#, relatively new feature. And these are called, what are they called? I believe they're called anonymous classes. I hope I'm getting that right. But anyway, you can basically define kind of an ad hoc class in C# with this syntax. So his class was name, string, a boolean, and the fields, which is perfect. And then he can define them like this. Just one time define them up here. And then down here, he could loop through them and create the indexes, and then loop through them again to check that they actually exist. Well, I didn't actually loop through them here. He selected them all and then passed them to this check indexes method, which is, I didn't realize this, but this is part of the iBucket Manager class. So I learned something new about Couchbase. And then he had this, which is distributed lock exception. I wasn't quite sure what that was in there for, because it looked like he didn't use this one, but we'll get to that in a second. And then he created this. Oh, you know what? I'm wrong. That check indexes is not part of the iBucket Manager. It's an exception method, an extension method that he wrote. Still cool, but it throws this Hangfire Couchbase missing indexes exception, which is one that he created, but it's not this one, distributed lock. So I was a little confused by that. That's okay, because if we go to the next one, it looks like he maybe had some snafu with the exceptions, but he removed the distributed lock exception and put in this one here, which is basically just a really simple wrapper around this exception class. But it's always a good practice to create a specific index for a exceptional situation, or a specific exception for an exceptional situation. In the future, we may want to handle this specific index. If we throw an exception, that makes it very difficult to handle that specifically. If we throw this one, well, we can just check the type and say, well, if is it of type so-and-so, then we'll do this. So that looks really good to me. And then the last one is some Resharper refactors. So I'm not sure what this is exactly. Looks like, yeah, maybe there was some problem with the wrong namespace or something. So some Resharper stuff there. So this is already good. I think he's already committed this. It looks good to me. I haven't actually tried it yet, but the code to me looks good. Let's see, did he actually? Yeah, this is all committed into the develop branch. So I'm just going to leave a comment. Sorry, Imran, didn't get a chance to review this sooner, but it looks really good to me. Thank you. Let's leave that comment. And I always like to give little thumbs up when I can, just little bits of encouragement here and there to let people know that I'm paying attention. I appreciate what you're doing. So whenever you're in a GitHub thread or wherever you're in a Stack Overflow thread, it doesn't really cost you anything. Just click that up button, click the thumbs up button. If something there is valuable to you or you think they've done a good job, just go ahead and do that. It's a small thing, but it takes you no time, doesn't cost you anything. Just go ahead and do it. We're gonna spread a little bit of encouragement out there with our GitHub thumbs up and our Stack Overflow upvotes. Just keep on trucking with those. All right. So I'm going to call that closed out. He hasn't done a release yet, as far as I know. I don't know what his schedule is for releases. He may be waiting for me to do a release. I don't know. That's really up to him. He's the owner. So we're in good shape there. All righty. Something else came up. So we're off of Hangfire now. We're off. We can revisit Hangfire later if anyone's interested, or if something else comes up. I actually do need to work on some content for that Hangfire session that I'll be doing at KCDC, and I've got a pretty good idea of what I'm going to do. I'm going to probably use my Family Photos app as part of the demo because it's pretty full featured. It's more than your Hello World example, and I can show the dashboard. The graphical dashboard of Hangfire. If I did a console app, it would be really quick and easy to get it up and running, but I couldn't show off the cool dashboard and some of the more interesting features of Hangfire. So I already got that Family Photos app built, so I'm going to go ahead and probably keep using that for my example. So we may come back to that later. But what I want to switch gears to now is Hangfire, or what I want to switch gears to now is Entity Framework Core. I've been working on in previous streams Entity Framework Core 3 Couchbase provider. Entity Framework is an ORM. It's a tool that you can use to help access, query, and model data in database of choice. And EFCore, typically it's SQL Server, but there's lots of providers out there, MySQL and Postgres, and there's even a Cosmos DB one that's in preview right now, and I'm sure there's several others that have EFCore. But there's not a Couchbase EFCore provider yet. The SDK team here at Couchbase, I believe, is working on a EFCore 2 provider, and I've decided to try to take a shot at starting at least a EFCore 3 Couchbase provider. So EFCore 3 is not officially released yet. It's totally open source, but I believe it's in preview releases right now. So this is quite an undertaking for me for those reasons, and also because I've never created an ORM before. And I'm not creating one here, but I'm creating a provider for one. So still not done it. This is all new territory for me. That being said, if you go back to my GitHub repo, so it's github/mgroves/.net Couchbase EF3. That's the provider. Our first issue was opened. Yay! First issue. Love it. Because you say, "Oh, Matt, why would you want an issue open on your project? That's no good." I mean, something's wrong. You don't want issues. Well, I think the exact opposite is the case. The more issues I have, the better. That shows that people are engaged, people are there using it. Hey, Coral, thanks for stopping in. Woo, indeed. I have an issue on my GitHub repo. Yes, that's our attitude to take, is woo. Now, obviously, if I'm overwhelmed by issues and, there's hundreds and hundreds of bugs, that's a problem. But I would rather have people opening issues than people completely ignoring the repo. So this is a good sign. Anyway, it's my old friend Calvin Allen here. If we go back to this keeps logging me out. If we go back to my Twitch bot data, what's going on here? Twitch bot data, and execute this query, you can see that Calvin is probably the top name on there, 174. I agree, if someone raises an issue, it means they care enough to want to keep using it and have it grow. Absolutely. That is like 99% of the issues. And there's that pesky 1% who's like, oh, this library is terrible. If you don't add this feature right now, I'm going to stop using it. Those bother me. But 99% of the time there is an issue. It's because they're using it, and they found something that's not behaving how they expect it to. They have a question about it. So yes, that's always good to have issues. I love it. But I got one from Calvin Allen here, who's our top chatter, by the way. I don't know if that means anything, but he basically says, I forked this thing. So on GitHub, if you want to contribute, one of the first things you do is you make a fork, which is kind of like a copy of the code at a point in time. And the reason you fork something is because you want to start working on it. You want to start making, adding some code. So he says, I want to help. Yay. Love it. I used to work with Calvin on a daily basis. And whenever he's involved with coding, it's always a good thing. I don't know where to start. Where do I start? What should I do? Okay, so this issue is obviously pointing out something that's a huge problem with this .NET Couchbase EF3 repo. Is one of my goals is not to do this all myself, but to get it kicked off and get people interested in using it and contributing to it, and people that know what they're doing contributing to this. So I have not made that easy for anyone to do. These instructions here I've mostly just copied from the Microsoft repo, the Microsoft's own Entity Framework core repo. But I've not said, well, I've said, hey, I want people to help, but I've not told them exactly what I need help with. So I gave Calvin a thumbs up because yes, we want to spread the love as best we can, and it costs us nothing to thumbs up someone on GitHub. And so I said in response, this issue has now become the official planning thread. I'm going to start putting some notes in here today, right here on the stream, live on Twitch, at twitch.tv/MatthewDgroves. The end result, and this is what we're going to determine today, the end result may be I open up more issues here on GitHub, or I may end up creating some sort of contrib doc that gives developers idea of how to contrib or what to contrib. A roadmap doc, which kind of says, well, these are the features that we want to create and support. Or we may do all of the above or something else. So I thought the good first step would be let's open up Visual Studio and take a look at Entity Framework Couchbase solution. And we can start looking at what's not there, taking some notes, and then going from there. I still don't know enough about what I'm doing here to we got an update. Look at that. We'll not do the update right now. I don't know enough about what I'm doing to say, well, I can create an exhaustive list of. What is this? Did not allow one or more extensions to deprecate APIs. You know what? I may need to update Resharper, as I think I ran into a problem like this last week. And Visual Studio kept warning me, hey, this API is going to not be supported, so I think I may be behind on my Resharper extension. Resharper is simply just a Visual Studio extension that helps me be more productive. It does little refactoring things and naming and helps me navigate, and also has a test runner and all kinds of great features that just turns Visual Studio, it gives Visual Studio additional superpowers. And Resharper is so good at this, in fact, that Visual Studio keeps, historically speaking, they start adding stuff that was first in Resharper. So they start adding their own version of it into Visual Studio. But yet, all these years, Resharper keeps finding ways to innovate and do more cool stuff. And I gotta say, I still like the Resharper test runner more than just about any other test runner I've ever used. So I like it just for that alone. That's my favorite thing. But also the Alt-Enter refactors and the Control-T to find symbols and refactoring namespaces and all that stuff. I'm sure Visual Studio can do some of those things to an extent. I seem to have locked Visual Studio. Oh, no, there we go. It seems to be really chunking along, though. So I just want to make sure that before we get started here that I have the latest version or something. So this was last updated on March, and so there is March of 2018? That can't be right. So there's an update available. What am I copying here? Okay, I don't know what that means. So anyway, what I need to do is update Resharper. So I don't know. I don't remember how to do that. I thought there was a JetBrains. Maybe I'm thinking of Telerik, but some way to update Resharper. I'm going to move this off the screen just because I'm not sure if it's going to show licensing information when I log in to JetBrains.com or not. Still remember the first time I saw JetBrains in action, or I saw Resharper in action. I was very confused because I went to a presentation, and the guy up who was presenting was doing all this stuff in Visual Studio, like way more efficiently than I had ever done it, and he was firing these shortcut keys, and things were happening, and I was like, what is that? How is he getting that to happen? So I went up to him after, because he didn't say that in the session. This goes back to, again, why there are no stupid questions, because someone else might have thought, well, geez, that looks like something complicated. I'm too afraid to ask because I'm afraid I'm going to look like an idiot in front of this presenter. And I got to say, I was afraid. I didn't raise my hand during the session, but I went up and talked to him afterwards and say, what was that thing on the Visual Studio there that you were using? And I think he was doing like rename. He was using a rename function at the time, which I think Visual Studio has now, but didn't have something like that back then. This is a long time ago. And he said, "Oh yeah, that's Resharper." And so I'd never heard of it before. And so he didn't bite my head off. He didn't call me stupid. He just answered my question, and I learned something. And I've been using Resharper every day, pretty much every day since then. Well, not every day because I didn't go out and buy it immediately, but yeah, I think I won it in a raffle at some point later. But I've been using it ever since then. And as a MVP, JetBrains is nice enough to supply me with a license, which is one of the biggest benefits of being an MVP. Okay, so I'm logged into Resharper now. I'm seeing license IDs on the screen, so I'm not going to put it on the screen just yet. Let's see if I can do this quickly. Let's see, Resharper 2019.1, so I assume that's the latest version. I'll go ahead and close out Visual Studio here. I'll download the web installer of Resharper 2019.1. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. So I'll just go ahead and execute that. And this should give me the ability to upgrade Resharper. So hey everyone, if you're just joining, we're doing a little more yak shaving. Always seems to be the case. Do some yak shaving. I'm going to update Resharper because I'm getting some Visual Studio problems. And they've been nagging me for a while to do this, and I just haven't got around to it. So before we get any further, I want to go ahead and update Resharper 2019 1.2. And I'll update it in both Visual Studios. It's I don't really use 2017 much anymore, so I may want to consider uninstalling that at some point, but we'll go ahead and install that. Here's all the other great stuff you can get with Resharper. Writer is a cross-platform IDE that you can run in. It's similar to Visual Studio, right? It's an IDE, but it's cross-platform, so it can run in Mac, run on Linux, and you can develop not just .NET Core, but .NET, Xamarin, Unity, all that kind of stuff. So it's still definitely a good offering from Resharper. I don't use Writer that much. I used it in the early days when they was in like a preview, because there wasn't a Visual Studio Code at that time. So yeah, and then there's stuff like .trace for performance profiling, and then you can there's a standalone test runner .cover. Memory profiler, and there's a decompiler and all that kind of cool stuff. They have Resharper for C++, which I don't use C++. Okay, so we'll go ahead and hit next. This shouldn't take too long to install both of these. There are some other tools similar to Resharper out there. I believe there's Code Rush, which is also a Visual Studio extension. It does similar things to Resharper. Some people swear by Resharper, some people swear by Code Rush, some people swear by, I don't want to use either of those. I personally, I think, there used to be, Telerik had one called Just Code, I believe, which was pretty good. But I always ended up going back to Resharper. Telerik has some really good dev tool stuff out there like that. It's just I tend to like Resharper. Probably because I've been using it so long. But I'm not saying those other tools aren't good. Definitely check them out. Telerik, Just Code, and Code Rush, which I think I have the least experience with. Some people say, I just want plain old Visual Studio. And some people say, I don't even want Visual Studio. I want to use, I'll use Vim or VS Code even, which, again, these days is totally fine. So this is still going. Just get a little quick Twitter distraction, see what's going on over there. Nothing much going on. Okay, so 2017 is done. 2019 is installing now. So let's see. Next week, I'm not traveling. Oh, next week is the holiday on Thursday, July 4th, and so I will not be at my desk July 4th. I could still stream, but I believe I will be out of town. And my daughter's birthday is on the 5th, so it looks like I'll be taking a long weekend there. But I should be streaming next Tuesday, July 2nd. I just got a text message of some sort. Okay, it looks like we're done. Twitch dev started a rerun. I got a Twitch notification on my phone. What does a rerun mean? Is that a new feature? You can show old streams as a rerun? That's pretty cool. I like that idea. Okay, so anyway, Visual Studio, open up again. You know, since we're yak shaving, we may as well update Visual Studio while we're at it. Maybe we should change the name of the show to Yak Shaving. Actually, that sounds a little more catchy than live coding. I don't know. Any thoughts on that, Coral? What you like better, live coding with Matt Groves or Yak Shaving with Matt Groves? Where are we? Yeah, this one right here. There's always yaks to shave. There's never a shortage of yaks out there. Yak shaving is fun. It can be, I guess. if you want to get distracted, if you don't feel like getting down to business, then yeah, yak shaving can be a fun diversion. If you want to get down to business and get something accomplished, yak shaving can be very annoying. Oh yeah, as a title, yes. Yeah, I'll think about this. Change the name of the show to yak shaving. I don't want people to think that I'm yak shaving on purpose, though. But it's a fun title. All right, Visual Studio. Let's get it together here. Where's that little update screen? Come on. Maybe just make a yak emoji or something. That's not a bad idea. I don't know if I have. Can I create more? TV/. I don't know if I put this on here. The whole thing with the Twitch affiliate, I don't know. Oh, everything's getting locked up now. Oh my goodness. It's mass hysteria around here. Twitch/dashboard. Alright, so I made the Calvin Allen emoji, but I'm not sure if I need something else to. Do I need to reach another level or pay for another emoji? I have no idea. Subscriptions, emotes, chat perks. Well, that's like if I want to sell emojis or something like that. I've already uploaded an emote. Emotes are only for subscribers? Is that how it works? I think so. Yeah, okay. Well, maybe I'll make a nice little yak shaving emoji. Emote, whatever the kids call it these days. Cats and dogs coding together. Mass hysteria. Yes, absolutely. It's in my mind, I guess, because I just saw on Twitter, I don't know if this is old news or not, but Paul Rudd announcing he's going to be in next Ghostbusters movie, which I'm surprised they're making another, like, Ghostbusters reboots so soon? Or is it like, I don't know, I guess it doesn't matter, it's just Ghostbusters, but is it like a parallel universe to the one they just created? I don't know. The whole thing is the Ghostbusters multiverse. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I like the last one, and I like the very first Ghostbusters. So I'd watch another one with Paul Rudd. He seems like a good Ghostbuster actor. I don't know. Okay, I'd rather see him do some Tane though. That's what I want to see. Now Tane I can get into. All right. Okay, so here we are. This is kind of the nexus of where the provider, the entity framework provider, kind of interacts with Couchbase. Beats me, I only just discovered Briscoe County Jr. I have no idea how I missed it when it aired. Briscoe County Jr.? What are you talking about? Is that a Paul Rudd thing? I don't know. Briscoe County Jr.? Fictional character played by... Oh, okay. Yeah, I know you're a big fan of Bruce Campbell. This was a show in 1994. Oh. Oh, so this is your way of saying you're behind the times when it comes to media, entertainment type stuff. Always, he says. All right. So anyway, this class here, this Couchbase Client Wrapper. Now remember, the way I started this was I basically just did a copy and paste of the Cosmos provider. I did that because they're both document databases. They have a few things in common. It seemed like a good place to start. But I basically just did a copy, paste, rename. Everything that said Cosmos now says Couchbase. Excuse me. And if you remember, I already have something kind of working. The add portion here, when I add a new document, it will create that. And I did that by implementing one of these functions down here. Somewhere. I think it was an insert. Yeah, right here. This create item once async. So I implemented this. So actually able to save documents. And so I think a lot of the work is done is going to be based around Couchbase Client Wrapper. So I kind of want to start here. I'm going to look at the public methods of this. That's what I mainly want to look at. So let's just start taking some notes. So the public methods, if I can just get it'd be nice if I just get a list of those to copy and paste, but create database if not exists. So let's call this list public methods in Couchbase Client Wrapper. So create database if not exists. I don't know if that one needs to be in, let me see if I can do it like this. I don't know if we need that one for Couchbase. We certainly could create it. We could implement it. But it would probably be create bucket if not exists. So maybe should be create bucket if not exists. But creating bucket is such a uncommon thing. I don't know. I guess creating database if not exists is pretty uncommon too. Or maybe doesn't need to be implemented. All right, what else we got? Create database if not exists once. That's kind of related here. It's just an overload of that basically. Create database if not exists async. So again, similar sort of thing. Delete database. Yeah, anything around. So maybe this should be bucket instead of database. Don't know. Think about that. Delete database once. So these are things that are pretty uncommonly called, I would assume. Hey, it's Calvin Allen. What's up? Calvin, guess what we're doing today? Working on your issue. Because you're absolutely right. I have nothing out here to tell you what you should do, what you should look at, where you should start, anything like that, except the very, very basics, which I just copied and pasted from Microsoft. So I'm doing some planning today. So I starting out by taking some notes so we can figure out what to do. Because if you've expressed interest in contributing, so has Michael Jolly. He just might be being polite, but he's also expressed interest. Break out Excel and Project. Well, maybe Excel, buddy, but I don't even have Project, and I don't even know how to use Project. And for me, it would more likely be like a Kanban situation. It would be like Trello or LeanKit, something like that. You know, that's how I roll. Are you still using LeanKit with EasyRep? Every once in a while, I'd see like a huge flood of emails come in. And I was like, I really got to unsubscribe from those. Delete database once async. Yeah, if it's open source, you can just use the projects and get it. Oh, is that something? Oh, look at this. Projects. Is that like a little Kanban deal? Well, look at that. That's probably what we're going to do. Good call there, Calvin. No, man, I moved everything to Azure DevOps, including builds / releases pipelines. Oh, so DevOps also has like the PM sort of thing with the cards or the tasks, etc. EasyRep to 100% Azure. Yep, good. I like it. How is EasyRep going these days? I don't know how much you're allowed to talk about or whatever, but I can say I used to work on this software product called EasyRep, and for reasons I won't get into, I had to stop doing that, and Calvin was nice enough to take over for that. And it's software for sales reps to manage stuff like commissions and tracking their customers and territories and all that kind of stuff, right? Just think of it like Salesforce, except way less complicated and a price tag to match. It's more affordable for smaller rep shops. So we have 3 monthly paying clients. Yeah. So when I was there, it was not on Azure, and it was a yearly subscription. So that's interesting. So 8-ish more to migrate to the monthly plan. That's good. So with those 3, we almost paid the entire bill, the entire Azure bill. That is tremendous. That is really tremendous. So I'm glad to see that's still a going concern. Very cool. Transition to Stripe. Yep, I did a little bit of that. I think it was Stripe when I was working on it as a subscription model. Absolutely tremendous. That is really cool. If you're interested sometime, and if your business partner would be okay with it, you can certainly come on the stream and talk about it, or do your own stream to talk about it. I think I'd be really interested in seeing what changes you've made to that. All right, so delete database once async. So create container. So there aren't containers in Couchbase. This might be collections in the future. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe our database is in containers in Cosmos. I don't know. One way or the other. So these probably don't need to be implemented right now. But I'm just going to make note of them. So I'll need a private one. Was one of these up here private? I missed by mistake. Delete database once. Is public. Okay. All right. Oh my goodness, my phone's blown up. Someone called me leaving a voicemail. Ugh. I hate voicemail. Voicemail is like 99% of the time it's either some garbage robocall or it's a recruiter who doesn't understand that I don't care for talking on the phone, or it's some sort of automated medical professional service. Either way, I don't like them. I don't like any of those things. All right, create container if not exists. Create container if not exists once. That's private. Not exists async. Yep. Okay, so create item. Create item once. Oh, that's private. Create item async. So this one, all it does is just call create item once async. So this is already implemented. Already partially implemented, maybe. I'll put a question mark there because I'm just not sure if what I've gotten here is enough. It probably is okay. It could probably be refactored, it can be improved, but I think this is probably good. Okay, replace item. And replace item async. These should be use bucket.replace. Okay. Delete item. And delete item once. And delete item async. And delete item once async. I don't know what the difference is between delete item and delete item once. It looks like it's doing some sort of asynchronous something or other. Anyway, it's bucket.replace, or more specifically, use bucket.replace async, because that's available in Couchbase. So this, I believe, with Couchbase, this is use bucket.remove or use bucket.remove async. Delete items, fine. Okay, then the big one: execute SQL query. Execute SQL query async. You know, this is a huge effort on its own, because you basically need to implement a link. So there's this private document enumerable. Yeah, I don't know what those are. Document enumerable, and document async enumerable. What are these? Okay, and then dispose is fine the way it is. Okay, so that's it. That's all I need to do. Oh, hang on, my son's coming here. He's got something for me. What do you got here? You don't know what this is? He brought me a bag. Yeah, it's a snack. Hey, what's going on, Emma? It's not Fortnite. Sorry. She said she's the one who streamed Fortnite with me. She looked at what was on the screen. She said, boring. My wife brought me Sanders Sea salt, milk chocolate caramels. These things are amazing. They already walked away, Calvin. All right, are you doing that like a Krusty impression? Krusty the Clown? Hey, kids! My wife brought me so much candy. I love it. She should not be getting me this much candy. I'm already gaining weight from so much travel starting up again. Don't need it. I need more chocolate. It's starting to rain out there, looks like. Anyway, so that's the high level, Calvin, I think what needs to be done. So this stuff we can probably ignore for now, I think. Now I'm thinking about watching The Simpsons. Hey, kids. I just remember that from the Krusty's Funhouse, Krusty's Super Funhouse, which I think was a game that was panned, was not very well received, but I think is a great game. Kind of like a Lemmings puzzly sort of game. But I remember that sound clip was in the game. Hey, kids. All right, so from what I'm seeing, Calvin, is mainly Couchbase client wrapper is kind of the primary nexus of what the work needs to be done. And so we can probably ignore these for now. These are more administrative. And Couchbase SDK already has stuff for doing this already. I don't know if there's any benefit from having Entity Framework do it. Same with these. Create item is already implemented, at least partially. So we've got replace and delete, which need to be implemented. And then execute SQL, which need to be implemented, but there's a lot more that needs to be done for that. And then I'm not sure what these are, document enumerable. Those might be related. They probably are related to the SQL query stuff. Okay. What's the difference between delete item and delete item once? Okay, good question. Delete item and delete item once. So delete item, it's calling delete item once. And delete item once is calling delete item once async. So I don't know what the difference is. Execute strategy factory. I don't know what that is. I don't know if any of this stuff is necessary. But you know, Entity Framework does need to be able to delete an item given a key. And in this case, it's asking for a container ID as well. So that might be something also to note here is don't really need container ID for Couchbase yet. That's probably true for all of these, in fact. So that can be removed, but if it's not really hurting anything right now, because I'm basically ignoring it. Like create item once async. There's this container ID being passed in, but I don't use it in here. So I could just strip it out. But I'm kind of leaving it in there because I know that we've got collections coming up. Hold on just a second, please. Everybody's making a bunch of racket back there. So, yeah, the container ID probably can go, but I might need it down the line. I don't know, so I'm not super worried about it. So everyone likes to wait until I'm streaming to start sending me text messages. All right, so what would you think, Cal? What do you think's a good recommendation here? I think execute SQL query could probably be a whole bunch of cards on its own, but the rest of these, and this might go with it too, but like delete item, replace item, create item, those could probably be just individual cards. Relatively small scope, hopefully. And I'm eating some candy to kind of think this over. That's my excuse anyway. This is Sanders Fine Chocolates, which is a brand I discovered when I was out in Portland. Although I think they're These are from Big Lots, and they're also at Costco, I believe. But some of these are dark chocolate, which I don't really like dark chocolate, but they're still tasty. And they're only 160 calories for 3 pieces. Calvin says you could split those into multiple projects on GitHub too. So one project for low-hanging fruit, and one for the dear God, this will suck fruit. Actually, not a bad idea. Because you could have a low-hanging fruit project, which will be great for first-time contributors. And dummies like me. And you have the other one where it's like, I need help with this one, please. Someone save me. So that's not a bad idea. So let's go check this out. Let's check out projects here on GitHub. So I can create multiple projects inside one repo. Let's call low-hanging fruit. This is where easy-ish tasks will go. These are tasks that have been estimated as relatively short, easy. Estimated? Scoped? I don't know. So short, easy. They are designed for first-time contributors or crap meeting. Be right back. Oh, those darn meetings. Well, thanks for stopping by, Calvin. And if you stop back before, like, what do I have to schedule? 3:30, I'll still be here. It's first contributors or for the busy developer, the busy open source developer on the go, who is short on time. Pre-configured templates, basic Kanban, automated Kanban. Automated Kanban with reviews. Oh, there's a basic Kanban for now. Okay. Let's check this out. I guess this is turning into a GitHub project stream. We're so excited that you've decided to create a new project. Now that you're here, let's make sure you know how to get the most out of GitHub projects. Create a project, check. These are individual tasks on a project. Give your project a name. Low-hanging fruit, check. What that purple line means. Oh, okay. Press the plus key to see available keyboard shortcuts. I'm never going to remember these. Check. Add a new column. I don't really want another new column, I don't think. But yeah, this is kind of like a Trello sort of thing. Testing might be a good column, but let's leave that for now. Drag and drop this card to the new column. Yeah, I just did that. Search for and add issues and or PRs to your project. I don't have any yet. Well, I kind of do. Look at this one. Can we put this into a project? Look at that. Cool. So we got projects. Low-hanging fruit. Okay, and where is it? I thought I assigned it to awaiting triage. Oh. Is it like a triage area? Triage. Okay. That's weird. I'd rather see a triage column, something like an icebox, something like that. Okay, did that manage automation on columns? Now, what does that mean? Manage automation on columns. Choose a preset to enable progress tracking, automation, and better context sharing across your project. So move pull requests, move issues here when reopened, sure. Move pull requests here when all of these, I guess. That all sounds good. And the done, manage automation, so it's closed, merged, yep, those are all good. Why not? To do, newly added, reopened. Oh, yeah, I like that one better over here. New added, pull request here. When new added, yeah, I'll put everything there. That's good. So what does that leave here? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, and archive a card or archive all cards in a column. So I'll move this to done. Archive a card. Yeah, it's just the shish kebab menu. That makes sense. And archive. Cool. Okay. What else? We got cards can be added as a board to track the progress of issues and pull requests. You can also add note cards like this one. Okay, I don't need that anymore. Automation, automatically move your cards to the right place based on the status and activity of your issues and pull requests. Okay, good. So if this is in progress right now. Does it say that anywhere? Okay. So these are the raw notes from Twitch. Thanks to Calvin. Suggestion. I'm creating GitHub projects to hold planning information. So I'm going to close that one. I'll leave the comment. So if I go back to the projects, oh, it's in the done column now. That's very cool. All right. I'm putting project manager on my resume now. Okay. All right, so replace. I want to add a note. I want to add an issue here directly. Convert to issue. Okay. Let's create some notes to start with. So really just replace and delete. Create these as well. Okay. So let's convert this to an issue. What was that file called? Couchbase client wrapper. Convert to issue. And I'm going to make this a little more generic. The create container star methods. And that is these right here. Unlike Cosmos, there is no concept of a container in Couchbase yet. Excuse me. These can be left alone until Couchbase support for collections comes probably later this year. Okay. Okay, so that's one. Convert this one to issue. So the delete database, Couchbase client wrapper, delete database star methods. Couchbase has buckets instead of databases. However, the Couchbase SDK already has support. I don't even know however. The Couchbase SDK already has support for these operations. They could be wrapped by Entity Framework, but it is not a top priority right now. All right, delete item. Again, Couchbase client wrapper, delete item methods. These methods should use the Couchbase.NET SDK's bucket.remove. Can I make this syntax highlighted? And or bucket.remove async methods. Okay, and then replace item. We'll convert that to an issue. Couchbase client wrapper, replace item methods. And then these methods should use Couchbase.NET SDK's bucket.remove and or bucket.remove async methods. All right, so there's 4 to-do items, and if those get implemented, then, well, really just these two. Those are the top priority. I wonder if we can, is there a priority on these cards? Labels. Make it, is like a low priority. I can create one. So, what color do I want? Light yellow, sure. That seems good. And, okay. This one here. Also, let's see, labels. Low priority. Cool. This is pretty neat. This is this Couchbase or GitHub project. It reminds me of, obviously, of Trello, certainly, but some of the good things about LeanKit and Agile Zen in the old days. Remember that one? And there's another one I used to use. I can't remember what it's called. But also reminds me a bit of Fogbugs with the Kanban plugin. So good. It's good. I like it. What else we got? Okay. So the other thing is in projects. We've got this one project here. We're going to call it the link project. So this project tracks all the tasks necessary to create a link provider within the EFCore 3 Couchbase provider. Link provider to execute nickel queries. Yeah, and we'll just do a basic Kanban for this one as well. Yep, I already did all this stuff, so we can delete that. delete that. I wonder if I can just make a copy of that one. Doesn't matter. Okay, automation. Let's start with the middle for automation. I'm just going to kind of replicate what I did before. Check all these. Check all these. And then check all these because they're going to override the ones that I want. Yep. 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 Okay. And so the only note I have left is, I have two notes that are probably related to this. It's the execute SQL query, which, I mean, that's just a huge effort. It needs to, that ticket basically just needs to be to scope it out into other tickets. And then same thing with document enumerable and so on. Okay. So let's edit this one. No, I want to convert it to an issue. This is in the, what was the class called again? Couchbase Client Wrapper. The methods execute SQL query and execute SQL query async need to be implemented to support link in EFCore for Couchbase's nickel. This card is not to complete that work, but to do further analysis on what needs to be for analysis on what needs to be done, and to create there's not even one to be better, to create a breakdown of remaining tasks to implement the link provider. Okay. And I'm going to convert this to issue. This is just going to be another investigation card, which that might be a good tag actually. Couchbase Client Wrapper. This is Couchbase document enumerable or document async enumerable classes. Investigate what these classes are for. They are probably related to number 6, and break down work into tasks, into and investigate, breakdown, and break down the work into their own cards issues. Okay, so I think what I want to do is I'm going to label this as investigate. Investigate. These cards are, I keep saying cards, but issues. These issues are typically going to have other issues as the deliverable, as their deliverable, and not usually PRs. And the color for that should be, I don't know, let's make a nice blue color. Yep, investigate. And for this one, we'll also make investigate. Okay, so we got all kinds of stuff going on here. So we've got 2 projects, and those are both good. So let's go back to the README here. It might be a good idea to edit this. And contributors guide. not going to have much of a contributor's guide just yet, but the remaining work is currently divided among 2 GitHub projects. The first project is called Low Hanging Fruit, and these represent the relatively easy / small pieces of work that are represent relatively easy, small, isolated pieces of work that don't require this will work. That's probably good enough. And we'll make that a link. I can never remember the link syntax for this, for Markdown. So put in brackets, square brackets, parentheses, something like that. The second project is called link. And it is strictly for tasks that are related to making the link. The EFCore 3 Couchbase link work. If you see, I probably should create a bugs project as well, but we're not even there yet. We're not even to the point where a bug, I mean, it's like 100% bugs right now, so everything's a bug. But if you see or can describe some piece of work that needs to be added, please create an issue and assign it to, is it assign is the correct thing to do? Like if I go to issues and I go to new issue, projects, assign it to one of the above projects. If you would like to or are already working on one of these issues, please leave a comment in the issue on working on an issue. Please leave a comment in the issue. Note that a comment is not considered to be a promise of delivery. So don't let someone else's comment deter you from also working on it, if you want to. All right. Added a bare bones contributors guide. Just the bare minimum to help a prospective contributor get started. I'm going to commit that directly to the, yep, that's good. I didn't wash this thoroughly because water's kind of tasting like metal. Delicious, delicious metal. Okay, so yeah, I don't need that anymore. So I've got something. I closed Calvin's issue. I think where's Calvin's issue? I think I've done enough. Hey Calvin, welcome back. How was your meeting? You know, have you ever described a meeting as, oh, that was a really good meeting. That was a great meeting. I'm glad we had that. How many times do you think that happens versus, oh man, that meeting went way too long. You're stressing over it. Uh-oh. Redesigning learning plan from the ground up. Whoa. Why don't you just start over the whole piece of software? So Calvin works for a company called Heuristics, and they make a product called, oh, shoot, I'm totally blanking on it. My goodness. It's called Learning Builder. Yes, and Learning Plan is kind of central to Learning Builder. I'm kind of way involved in it, so I may be getting canned if it fails. You know, Calvin, I think one of the keys to not being, to reducing stress, and I'm not saying this is easy to do, but I just sort of assume every day is my last day on the job. I'm going to be fired today, so I don't know if that's a good way to live or not, but just kind of assume that one of these days they're going to fix the glitch and be like, why do we have this guy on staff still? Like, I just pretend that I'm Milton wherever I go. Calvin, I'm sure you're going to do a great job at it. If anyone knows learning plans and the tech and all the design, it's you. So I think you're going to be just fine. However, that does sound very stressful, just because I know the code base and how central learning plans are to it. So it might be a good time to. I don't want to add to your stress, but it might be a good time to consider a document database to store a learning plan in. But look, hey, if that's stressing you out by me saying that, then just ignore it. Ignore me and go along your way. Okay, so what I did, Calvin, while you were gone, is I created two projects, one called Low Hanging Fruit and one called Link, and I closed the issue that you opened. It's in the done column now, over here. I'd love to, honestly, but we're also prepping for a full-on AWS migration of everything. So there's a ton of stuff in flight. It sounds like you guys are really like taking on some big bites over there right now. So that's a sign that, I hope it's a sign that you're doing really well, that you're having to ramp up like this. So good for you guys. Anyway, so I put yours in the done column here because I've got something now. I've got two projects with some tickets in them, some places to get started. I've got this one with the low-hanging fruit, calling it for that for now. And I got the link one, close my issue. And so the link one just has two issues in it right now. And I've created this label called investigate, and that these are tasks, these are issues that the deliverable is other issues. Awesome. I might stream some work on this weekend if I can. That would be super rad, Calvin. I would love that. And whatever you find out, even if just in there creating issues and getting organized and doing some research, investigating, that is incredibly valuable. So, I know you're like me and you love writing code, but if you want to do if you just feel like doing some ticket writing in there, that would be great. The link one, especially, I don't know enough to say what needs to be put in here. So I've got two really high-level ones. They're probably very closely related. Well, I can't create issues on your repo, right? Oh, I don't know. I can certainly give that to you. I don't see why I wouldn't want you to do that. Let's see. Although, I think, isn't it true? Anyone can create issues on any repo by default? Maybe you could restrict it. Yeah, you can. I'm assuming you can add them to projects too. Why don't you give it a try right now and see if you can. If not, then I'll give you permission to do that, because absolutely. And I know where you work, creating good issues and creating detailed issues is just like part of what you do every day. So I'd absolutely trust you to do that. Coral, I don't know. I don't know if I could trust Coral. He'd probably inject some sort of obscene Pokemon ROM if I gave him that permission. Because because that's what I would do to him. But anyway, yeah, go ahead and give it a shot. Just create a dummy issue or whatever, and see if you can put it in a project. I mean, if you want to. I mean, I know it's middle of the workday right now, so whatever you want to do. But if anyone else is out there, I can create issues, but nothing else from there. Okay, so when you create an issue, you don't see this stuff over here, labels, projects, milestone, all that kind of business. You're not seeing those? Let's see. Just fine, I can create them and you can manage a project. Okay. Well, yeah, that's totally fine. I can certainly put them in there. I'm just kind of wondering if there's a way for me to give that permission to other people. I assume there must be, right? Collaborators. Calvin Allen. Calvin A. Allen. You're a collaborator. You have to make me collaborate on a repo. Yeah, oh, that's fine. Whatever. You get push access to the repo. That's fine too. I mean, whatever, man. Do what you want to do. In fact, while I'm at it, why don't I give some collaborator to some other people that I know I'd love to have on the project, even though they're maybe not ready to contribute anything just yet. But I'll give Brant Burnett some collaborator. No problem. And if I can find Michael Jolly, I'll put him on here too. There we go. If he's still interested, at least, you know, get ahead of him a little bit. Then he's if he wants to contribute, he's got the permissions already. If he doesn't want to, that's fine. No pressure, man. Hey, do what you have time for. Do what you want to do. Okay, so I think we've made some pretty good progress on getting this thing organized a little bit today. So it's 3:02. Got about a half an hour left. Wow, Calvin, you're really killing it with the chat messages today. Let's check in on the leaderboard. One of the things I want to do here soon, and actually this is another reason I wanted to tackle this today, Calvin, is I was talking to my boss about the status of Entity Framework, and it's been slow going, but you know, we're getting some interest built up. We're starting to try to get the ball rolling on the Twitch stream and whatnot, and he suggested that well, I know you can't announce anything usable yet, but you can announce that you're working on this project, and you know, you're looking for people to get involved and get interested. So I could write a blog post about that, just about the tiny progress that I've made, can promote the Twitch stream, and get some people in here who are interested. And so it's good to have this kind of this project structure in place, so that when they arrive, there's something for them to actually look at and read and follow and comment on, other than just, hey, Entity Framework, let's do it. There's a little more of a structure here. So you know, I'm not one for massive upfront plan. That's not my bag. But you know, it's nice to have something that people could work on. Might try the up for grabs label too. Well, maybe. The thing is, up for grabs, I feel like is kind of for, not for newbies per se, but for stuff that's relatively easy for people to drop in and knock out. And I don't feel like Entity Framework provider, certainly this infant of a stage is one I wouldn't want to throw the up for grabs labels. Plus there's some additional work you have to do to submit your project up for grabs. It's not just throwing a tag on there, although people might use the tag independently of the site. What Calvin's talking about here, upforgrabs.net. Great site you should check out, by the way. If you like open source software, you want to get involved somewhere, start at upforgrabs.net. There's another one too, Calvin. It's .lify or .netify or something. But anyway, this one is a bunch of open source projects, and what they do is, as they create issues like we've done, they submit their project to Up for Grabs, and then they'll tag issues with things like Up for Grabs or low-hanging fruit or simple task. It's a good first bug. And the idea here is people who are brand new to open source development or brand new to these projects, They can go to this site and find, hey, I want to start contributing to open source, building up my resume, building up my experience, giving back to some of these awesome projects. Where should I start? And so this is just a kind of a way to catalog. Oh no, I'm losing it again. A way to catalog all the different great first-timer issues. And so any framework is on here. Looks like there's no issues right now that are good first issues. I feel like trying to create an any framework provider is hard enough for me. And I have a little bit of experience, I should say. And it's still very intimidating for me. So, a first timer, I want to say someone who's in college or in a boot camp, trying to take on an entity framework core, that's a lot to bite off. So I don't know if I want to dive into this just yet. Oh, almost forgot, we're migrating to Git too, which I'm also way involved in. Major blog post coming if it succeeds. Woo! You guys got a lot of, you're not just juggling, you're juggling bowling balls over there. Sounds like, although compared to the other two, migrating to Git, probably not, hopefully not super painful, because if you're just migrating from Subversion over to Git, that it might take some time, but hopefully that's mostly automated, and then it's just a matter of switching all the developers over to Git, which again not a huge deal. I'm hoping, but what do I know? Subversion history could be quite gnarly in a few places, and that might throw Git for a loop, but. Major painful. It took 2 weeks to create the initial repo, and then I have about 12 bash scripts to run post cleanup. Okay. That sounds like an awesome blog post, because I'm sure there are a ton of people out there who are on Subversion repos that would like to go to Git, and you're basically giving them a detailed guide. Here's how we did it. Plus moving our database snapshots and release archives into S3 from Subversion. Yeah, that's right. All the different releases you had, they would get checked into Subversion, which I don't know if it was really the best tool for that, but it worked. S3 makes a lot more sense. Coral with the shocked robot face. Yeah, it's, I don't really have anything against Subversion, but there are a few things that Git can really bring to the table. They're nice to haves. I know we were talking about moving to Git when I was there, so it's good to see progress being made, but that is it sounds like a lot of work you had to do there. 12 bash scripts just to run cleanup. It's been a startup mentality for a while. We're trying to invest into some more R&D over the past couple of years. Yeah, very cool. They're doing some cool stuff there. So if you guys are hiring, by the way, feel free to throw a link in there. Anyone who is interested, because I tell you, I worked there for 2 years, 3 years, something like that. I feel like I got some really good experience on some really complex domains, not just programming domains, but business domains. And it's a great place. And you get to work with Calvin, too. Each one is fairly simple, to be fair, but figuring out which one's the right, which one's painful. Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing, is that... and this was the case with the Hangfire stuff last week, was that the code I ended up committing to pull requests was like 6 lines of changes. But it took us easily 2.5 hours to figure out what changes to make. So it's hard to judge a pull request by just the number of lines that change. So let's see, join us here. Looks like no positions available on the website right now, but keep this in mind, and definitely reach out to Calvin if you're interested. I'm sure this company's been growing, and they're a very uniquely positioned company. So definitely, if you're looking for a job, check them out. It's very .NET heavy, but there's always opportunities there to apply interesting technologies if you can demonstrate value. A couple of my friends work there. Seth Petrie Johnson is kind of a big muck there now, but there's some other guys I still know there, and of course the people I met while I was working there, Scott and whatnot. So anyway, All right, I'm just kind of killing time right now because I don't necessarily want to close up the stream right now because I'm having fun, but I don't want to start anything else major because I don't have a lot of time left. So, anybody in the chat room, anybody got any questions about anything at all? I see there's at least 5 of you. I don't know how good Streamlabs is about keeping track of people that are in the room. But any old questions, throw out there, or anything at all. Can you solve the traveling salesman problem while we're here? Thanks. Yeah, no problem. Traveling salesman. Here it is. There's the solution right here. It's on Wikipedia. Done. That was easy. What else you got? Good old traveling salesman. So I would just probably try to shove it into Google Maps some way. See if they could do it. Or Uber. Uber is probably closest to solving traveling salesman problem of anybody. Or having good heuristics for it. Yep, traveling salesman. Good old traveling salesman. And what was the other one? Dining philosophers. That's another one. I heard a lot about these two in college, traveling salesmen and dining philosophers. Which, dining philosophers always seem very strange to me. Like, I mean, I understand what the you know, the fundamentals of what they're representing there, but why are there philosophers? Why are they eating spaghetti? Why are they all at the same table? It's very strange. You never heard dining philosophers. This one has to do with threading, basically. Is each philosopher invokes thoughts of the bistro math. What's bistro math? That's a reference to something, I'm sure. Oh, I don't. That's from Hitchhiker's Guide. I don't remember bistro math though. That's from the 4th book, I assume. Or no, it's from Life History. I don't remember bistro math. Yeah, dining philosophers. Basically, you have, this is the picture right here. This is kind of what the professors will draw on the chalkboard. But you have this philosopher here, and he's trying to eat spaghetti. He needs 2 forks to eat the spaghetti, right? So the philosopher goes to grab both forks. And if he gets both forks, then he can start eating, right? Then the philosopher over here, he needs 2 forks to start eating, but this one has already been grabbed by this philosopher, so he has to wait. He can't eat. So then we go on to the next one, and this guy, okay, he can grab this one and start eating. And then at any point, the philosophers may decide to stop eating their spaghetti and put their forks down. So it's kind of, I think this was in operating systems class. This is kind of how a computer would deal with threading, is these forks are like locks. And there's some different variations on how to solve this problem, or, semaphores and all that kind of nonsense. Yeah, you can describe things like mutual exclusion, like you can get this table into a locked state, things like that, right? I don't know. It's just, it always stood out to me that it was this weird thing where it's like, why are these philosophers like sharing forks with each other? It's just a weird setup. Good old dining philosophers. Yeah, dining philosophers, traveling salesmen. What are some of the other ones out there? Do you remember any of these weird computer science problems? That's just unsanitary. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly unsanitary. And these are philosophers, so goodness knows the last time they've bathed or brushed their teeth. And they're just chomping down spaghetti. In this picture, there's not even sauce on it. It's just some plain pasta. Just a whole weird thing. Absolutely is unsanitary. Oh, let's see. Cigarette smokers problem. I haven't heard that one before. Assume a cigarette requires 3 ingredients to make and smoke. My threads just shove their faces right into the bowls. No shared state. That's a great solution to dining philosophers. Oh, that's great. Cigarettes. I never heard of the cigarette smoking problem before. That's one. That's a weird one. Classic problems. Here we go. Deadlock. Yeah. Race condition. Sleeping barber. Who comes up with these things? A hypothetical barbershop with one barber has one barber's chair and a waiting room. When he finishes cutting a hair, he dismisses the customer and goes waiting for others waiting. If there are, he brings back the chair and cuts the hair. If there's none, he returns to the chair and sleeps in it. Each customer sees what the barber is doing. If he's sleeping, he wakes him up, sits in the chair. If he's cutting hair, he stays in the waiting room. If there's a free chair, sits. If there's no free chair, the customer leaves. So this is kind of a queuing resource, like, I don't know, like resource management problem a little bit. This kind of reminds me of some of this modeling we did in like business analytics. Let's get my master's. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's take a look at our leaderboard before we close it up here. So Calvin Allen is dominating everyone. 225 messages to Coral's measly 61. So, all right. Well, before I close up here, any let's see. Sounds like a useful thing for understanding FSMs. What's an SFM? Finite state machines. Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. The old finite state machines. Oh, geez. Did you ever have to do the? Yeah. I'm quiet. Did you ever have to do the? It was finite state machines and then eventually Turing machines. Like I had to solve them on paper. I had to draw the diagrams and then write out step by step all the different parts of Turing machine and stuff. Oh man, I found those really obnoxious at the time, but I think it's probably a really useful tool to help understand how computers work. Yeah, diagrams like this, tons of these. It's kind of like sentence diagramming. Do you remember sentence diagramming from like grade school, where you get like you start with really simple sentences like the man walks, right? So you have adjective the, and then you have the line, and then subject is man and walks is the verb. But then we get to the point in like 6th, 7th grade where the sentence is like 15, 20 words long, and your diagram just looks like this massive just mess. It's impossible to read, impossible to fit on a piece of paper. This is kind of what these FSM diagrams in college remind me of. Oof, yeah, parsing computer programs is far easier. Yeah, I agree. Oh yeah, state tables, all this garbage. Oh, it's all coming back to me. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and these diagrams are really simple ones. We'd have state machines. Sometimes it was 4 or 5 different states. Oof, just a mess. All right, well, anyway, enough reminiscing about computer science. I'm going to wrap it up for today. Thank you, Calvin, for the help. Thanks, Coral, for hanging out. Everyone else who lurks, hey, next time, we'll see you on Tuesday. Join in, say hi, whatever you want to do. Show up on the leaderboard here. Yeah. So probably we'll continue with Entity Framework on Tuesday, unless something else comes up. And I think that's it for today. Why don't we see if there's anyone on my Twitch team to raid? Who is on Live Coders that we could raid? So I remember, tons of people. Jeez, this must be stream o'clock. So I remember I tried to raid InstaFluff some time ago, and it failed. So I'm going to try to raid InstaFluff again, and let's go over to there. So thank you very much for joining me, everybody. And that's the end of the stream today. We'll talk to you on Tuesday.
Ever hear about